All right, we're glad that you are with us here this evening. A few weeks ago, we shared with you a lesson entitled, What Does the Bible Have to Say? And on that particular night, we looked at the subject of homosexuality and what the Bible has to say about that particular topic. Well, tonight, the title is also, What Does the Bible Have to Say? And we want to look at a different subject that perhaps we don't study very much, or we need some better understanding of, and simply that is the idea. We don't want to offend anybody by the things that we are sharing. We're simply wanting people to see and understand what the Bible has to say. And I want to periodically now and then to look at different subjects and just see what the Bible has to say about them. Now tonight I want to talk about the idea of what does the Bible have to say about alcohol. And like I said, we don't mean to offend anybody or anything of that nature. We simply want to come to a better understanding of what the Bible does have to say. So what does it say? Well, let me begin by asking a question. Is alcohol a problem today? Everybody agree that it is a problem? And it certainly is. And it might surprise you to know, but really it is a problem in a wide variety of ages. Many times when we think about alcohol, we think, well, you know what, that's an adult problem. But it's not. You know, Jeff got me to thinking this morning when he said in Bible class that the scariest word to him was teenager. And so I thought about that this afternoon. I thought, okay, what about teenagers? What about teenagers and alcohol? Because like I said, we apply it simply to the adults, but really it's not just a problem for the adults. This afternoon I sat down and I did a little bit of research on the internet, and I ran across a study that was done, and in fact it's the most recent study that I can find, but I ran across a study that was done by the American Institute for Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And they did a study in 2015, so just 4 years ago. And what they found out in that particular study is that alcohol has become the most widely used source of abuse for teenagers. Not drugs, not marijuana, not anything of that nature, but alcohol is the most widely used substance abuse for teenagers. That study discovered that 33% of all teenagers by the age of 15 has consumed alcohol. 33% of all teenagers. They also discovered that by the age of 18, that percentage, well, do you think it goes up or goes down? Dave thinks it goes up. Everybody agree with that? That percentage goes up. In fact, it goes way up. By the age of 18, 60% of all teenagers have consumed alcohol. In 2015, it was reported that 7.7 million teenagers consume alcohol. Now, who do you think drinks the most? Adults or teenagers?
I think adults, because adults have more money.
Okay, you think adults have more? They have more money, so obviously they drink more, right? Okay, Brother Harold's shaking his head. Well, really it's a trick question. We would certainly think it would be adults. And adults do drink more often than teenagers do. But teenagers drink more than adults do, because they do things that's called binge drinking. And if you know what binge drinking is, it's where you drink a lot of alcohol, an enormous amount of alcohol, in a short period of time. And so in 2015, it was discovered they drank more than the adults did. In fact, it might surprise you that in every age group, okay, there's 3 age groups, 12 to 13-year-old, 14 and 15-year-old, 16 and 17-year-olds. In those 3 age groups, it might surprise you to know that girls drink just a little bit more than the boys do. And so it has become a problem for all age groups. Now, they even ask them, why do you drink? Well, I drink to deal with peer pressure. I drink to deal with stress, teenagers. But a lot of them said, I simply drink because I want to. And so it has become a problem in every age throughout our country. So what does the Bible have to say about it? What does the Bible have to say? Now, I want to ask you another question, and I want you to listen closely to the question. Don't answer by going ahead in the lesson, but just simply ask the question. Answer the question. Where in the New Testament do you find thou shalt not drink? That's a wake-up call for all of you. Thou shalt not drink. Where do you find that passage? Janet says you don't. And you know what? She is absolutely correct. You will not find a command in the New Testament, thou shalt not drink.
Necessary infers.
Okay?
Necessary infers.
Okay. We'll get to necessary inference here in just a little bit. Okay, but we don't want to go beyond what the Bible does say, but nowhere does it say thou shalt not drink. Now somebody might say, well, and somebody might have thought when I said we were going to talk about alcohol, I bet you a lot of you thought Jesus turned the water into wine. Right? John chapter 2. Or perhaps some of you thought, well, the qualification of a deacon in 1 Timothy chapter 3 is that they'd not be given to much wine. And maybe somebody thought, well, a couple chapters later in 1 Timothy chapter 5, the Apostle Paul told Timothy to take a little bit of wine for your stomach's sake. And all of those are true. But the Bible does have something to say, not so much about drinking, but the Bible does have something to say about drunkenness. About drunkenness. In fact, the Bible teaches us very plainly, and the New Testament teaches us very plainly, that drunkenness is a destroyer of your eternity. Now, by the way, a lot of people argue about, well, how powerful was that wine that Jesus turned the water into? How powerful was it? We don't know. There's no need of debating about it. Others will say, well, okay, Tom, perhaps Paul was telling Timothy that he can't get drunk. Well, let's go to this passage. In fact, let's go first of all to the qualification of deacons. And let's come to a better understanding of that qualification of deacons. Okay, now that qualification is found in 1 Timothy chapter 3. Let's come to a better understanding of it. Okay, a better understanding. Now we're going to go on. We're going to talk about what the Bible has to say about drunkenness. We're going to get there. But let's take a look at these passages, first of all, that people will use when they think about when we talk about alcohol. All right, now the qualifications of deacons. Now let's just begin there in verse 8. Likewise must the deacon be grave, not double-tongued, not given to, what's the phrase? Much wine. Not given to much wine. The word much, what do you think is meant here? Now I'm going to ask for different translations in just a minute, but what do you think is meant here by the word much? Okay, excess?
Yeah, more.
More? Anybody else? What do you think is meant here by the word much? Well, the word much comes from the Greek word puos. And puos means many, much, or large. Okay, now, many, much, or large. When the apostle tells us here that the qualification is that they not be given to much wine, is that negative or positive? That they not be given to much wine. It is negative. And so they are not to be under the influence of wine, of great amounts of wine. It is not something that they are supposed to be doing in great excess. Okay? In fact, a deacon, or any of us, fellas, we all should strive to have whose qualifications? Who should each of us strive to have the qualifications of? Of an elder. Each of us should strive to have the qualifications of an elder. And what is one of the qualifications of an elder? Okay. We go back up to verse 3, not given to wine. Now, what do you think is meant here by that phrase, not given to wine? Elders are not to be what? They're not to be drunkards. In fact, that is the meaning of that phrase, given to wine. It means drunkards. So they are not to be drunkards. That is also written in the negative. And so they are not to be drunken. They are not to stay near wine. That is a qualification that each of us, men, fellas, that we need to be striving for. All right, let's go to what Paul told Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 23. Drink no longer water, but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and the often infirmities. What do you think is meant here by little? What do you think is meant by little? Okay, a small amount. In fact, the word little in the language of the New Testament means puny. All right, something that is puny is what? Little. That's small. And so he is telling him that it was all right to do what?
Have a little sip of wine.
Okay, it is all right to have wine in small amounts. For what purpose? For the stomach's sake. And for his other infirmities. Now, was he telling him it's all right to get drunk?
No.
No. Can someone get drunk just from a puny amount of wine? No. It takes a little bit more than that, doesn't it? In order for one to get drunk. And so Paul here is not saying that it's okay for the deacons to get drunk. It's not saying that it's okay for Timothy to get drunk. They're simply to use that in a small amount. A puny amount. But what does the Bible have to say about drunkenness? Well, as we shared with you just a moment ago, drunkenness, friends, is a destroyer. Now, you want to talk about what it destroys physically, the alcohol, we can do that. It destroys a lot of different things. But let's just talk about the spiritual. Drunkenness destroys us spiritually. In fact, what it destroys is our future. It destroys our future. Okay. Now let's stop and think about that for a minute. What is, Chuck, what is your goal? What is your goal? Your ultimate goal?
Long-term goal is to
To go to heaven. Okay, to go to heaven. That is the goal of every one of us, isn't it? Everyone sitting here tonight, that is our goal. We want to get to heaven. And you know what? I have no doubt that everyone who was here this morning, I have no doubt that, every member of the body here, their goal is to get to heaven. But if we are someone who gets drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk, we need to understand we're putting that goal in danger. What's going to happen on the day of judgment? What's going to happen? Okay, we're going to be judged. And we're going to be judged, 1 Corinthians, we're going to be judged according to the things that we have done in this life, whether they be good or whether they bad.
1 Corinthians 6 tells us we won't be.
Okay, and we're going to come to 1 Corinthians 6. We're also going to come to Galatians chapter 5 here in just a minute to see what the Bible has to say about drunkenness. But we're all going to stand before the judgment seat of Christ. And Christ, at the end of that judgment, is going to say one of two things to us. What are they?
Come in or go away.
Okay, come in or go away. Okay, come in or go away. Jesus either is going to say, come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom of God that has been prepared for you from the very beginning of the world. Matthew chapter 25. Or he's going to say what? Depart from me. Matthew 25. Go ahead.
Ye that work iniquity.
Okay, depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Okay, Matthew the 25th chapter. Then shall he say to those on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. If we are someone who continually gets drunk, then we're going to hear Jesus say, depart from me. But what does the Bible really say about drunkenness? Well, let's turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Two passages teach us very simply what the Bible has to say. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And let's notice what we are told beginning in verse 9. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Beginning in verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor what? Nor what? Drunkards. Nor drunkards. Nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. They shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Who will not inherit the kingdom of God? Okay, those mentioned, including who? Drunkards. The word drunken here, or drunkards, comes from the Greek word methodos. And it means to be intoxicated. So those who are intoxicated are not going to inherit the kingdom of God. But let's go a little bit deeper, because I think there is an even deeper understanding here. The word methodos means a sot. S-O-T. A sot. Now, here's my question to you. What is a sot? Okay, he's a drunk, but what type of drunk is he? He is an habitual drunk. Now, what does habitual mean?
Continuous.
Okay, continuous?
Can't be without.
Can't be without? What you said? Okay. So, habitual means it is a habit for them, right? So, they get drunk, and then what happens? They get drunk again. And then what happens after that? They get drunk again. So a sot, which is the meaning of the word here, is someone who habitually gets drunk. That is their habit, time and time and time and time again. So come the judgment day, if they are still in that state of being habitual drunk, according to Paul here, what's going to happen?
Not going to inherit the kingdom.
They're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. That's what the Bible has to say.
See, it classifies that right with thieves and other things we look at as very evil people.
As evil people.
Right there, the same.
Yep.
Just with it.
The same, yeah. It's same, in the same place as what we talked about a few weeks ago. Homosexuality. It is in the same place with murderers and things of this nature. Okay, let's go to Galatians, Galatians. Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5. And let's read verses 19 through 21. What does the Bible have to say about drunkenness? What does the Bible have to say? Beginning in verse 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, immolations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, and what? Drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. They shall not inherit the kingdom of God. They shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So what does the Bible have to say about those who keep on getting drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk? What does the Bible have to say?
They're lost.
They're lost. They're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. That's what the Bible has to say about drunkenness. That it is a destroyer of one's spiritual future. So now, this is kind of where the necessary inference comes in that Jeff spoke up about. If habitual drunkenness, continuing getting drunk and drunk and drunk, if that will keep us out of the kingdom of heaven, what is the best thing that you and I can do? You tell me.
So what's the easiest way to keep from getting drunk?
What is the easiest way?
Get drunk.
Somebody said it. What's the easiest thing? To stay away from it. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? In fact, what does the Apostle Paul teach us? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. What does he tell us in verse 22? First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22. What's he tell us?
From the appearance of art.
Okay. All right, so to abstain. What does abstain mean? Okay, stay away from it. Refrain from it. Refrain from it. Stop. Stop doing something. To hold oneself off of. Now, the King James Version here reads, from all appearances of evil. Anybody have any different translations?
Stay away from everything that is evil, or don't have anything to do with evil.
Okay. Stay away from what?
Everything that is evil.
Okay. Everything that is evil.
Now, and the New King James says stay from all appearance of evil.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have another translation? Okay?
Abstain from every form of evil.
Okay.
English Standard says the same.
English Standard says the same thing. The New English Translation also says the same thing, TJ?
The New King James same as that. Too.
Okay, the New King James, same as that. Probably the King James and the New King James could be better translated. Because they they translate it as appearance. Now, when you think about appearance, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
What you look upon.
Okay, what you look upon. If it looks like, okay. Probably the better translation is the English Standard and the New English and the other translations, because the word here is eidos, and it means forms or kind. So stay away from all forms of what? Evil. If it's evil, stay away from it. Stay away from all kinds of what? Evil. If it's evil, then stay away from it. The New English Translation. Stay away from every form of evil. The International Standard. Keep away from every kind of evil. So what does the Bible have to say about drunkenness? The Bible teaches us that it destroys our eternity. And so really the best thing that we can do is to stay away from it. We want to extend the invitation. We'll have more lessons like this in the future. But we want to extend the invitation. And if we have anyone here tonight who needs to come and to make things right with the Father, why not come right now? Why together we stand and we sing.